And first up on the list, well, it is going to be round number 16 of the Junior Saloon Car Championship, the JSCC here, and they continue their story of the battle of the drivers aged between 14 to 17, and it is one of their very first steps from karting into car racing. I need to give a quick shout out as well to Perfect Acceleration Sim Racing, or PASR, because a good number of the drivers you see here will have learned the circuits and learned how to race in these machines using PASR simulators, and they're here today working with the JSCC and also advertising their brand. But here is the grid, and let's advertise who starts on pole. It's none other than Josh Salvador, second in the championship and battling with championship leader Wilf Butler. They can occupy your front row. On row number 2, it's Oliver Kerr, the man who was lightning fast at Croft last time out and was unfortunate not to make it 3 wins out of 3 with 3 pole positions, but he starts third ahead of Lewis Austin with one of his best qualifying performances of the season so far. Ollie Smith starts 5th, the leading rookie, ahead of Matthew Swatton. The Kersey Motorsport driver there will be looking to move forward from a 6th place start, with Max Scharfegger and Tom Ulgar completing your 4th row, and then we have Leon Holly and Martin Wright rounding off your top 10. We've got a couple more drivers on this grid, however, let's not forget about them, and in fact we literally do have another 2 drivers if everything is all proceeding to plan, and there they are, the Powell family drivers, Sherry Ann Powell and Lexi Powell there, separated by a second in qualifying, and the battle of the 2 of them, well, it's always good to watch between them at the back of the field as it is at the front of the field. But what's the story then heading into today at Oulton Park for the JSCC? Well, the story, simply put, is that Wilf Butler picked up 3 podiums at Croft, including a win in race number 3, and that means he now leads by 26 points over Josh Salvador, the Lightning McQueen machine that you see on the left of your picture, who really did seem to have to go for a game of damage limitation at Croft. I say damage limitation, he was on the podium in all 3 races, but he did feel as though he was the odd one out of our podium finishers. And in 3rd place, man, your leading independent championship driver of Oliver Kerr, he was the king of Croft, no doubt about it. And I think in another world, he would have picked up all 3 wins if it weren't for that slow, pesky start in race number 3 there. Round 15 was really a blemish in what could have been a perfect trio of races. But with all our drivers having completed the pit out lap, well, they've still got the green flag formation lap to go, and the next time come around it'll be that traditional standing start and they all go racing. Now, what else is there to look out for further down the championship order? Because the top 3 occupy the first 3 slots on the grid, where you also need to keep an eye out for the likes of Lewis Stannard, who will be fighting for 4th place honours, and well, he'll be looking to try and hold on to that from the rising tide of Ollie Smith and Max Scharfegger. Intriguingly, we do have a very close battle between Smith and Scharfegger for the rookie championship lead, and that battle being separated by only 9 points. And Max Scharfegger, well, his nickname at Croft was Mr. 4th place because he finished 4th in all 3 races in a highly consistent run of performances, and Scharfegger really has been one of those drivers who's demonstrated the fact that wherever you start at the beginning of the season, you move forward from race to race, round to round, event to event, and right now Max is definitely pushing for a podium at some point. He has picked up a couple of podiums so far. In fact, as I double check my statistics, he's picked up 1 podium, and that was at Silverstone. But he'll be looking for another podium if he can help it here today, as all of our drivers now really start to build up the pace on this green flag lap. So just to reiterate, well, this is a series focused on drivers aged between 14 to 17, and it is in its 11th year, having started in 2014, and the first ever champion was James Dorlin, who has gone on to race in the likes of Porsche Sprint Challenge Great Britain, British GT Championship, and is now on the 2025 British Touring Car Championship grid with Toyota Gazoo Racing. Also, some other great alumni within the JSCC include 2021 champion of Charlie Hand, who has been racing so far this year in the JCW Mini Challenge Championship, and also 2019 champion Harry Rice, who raced in the 2024 ADAC NLS Championship, and that being the championship dedicated to racing around the Nürburgring Nordschleife, and indeed the endurance circuit there, the ultimate test of driving ability. So indeed, this being the starting point for many of these drivers, but where will they end up at the end of their long journey in their motorsporting career? Well, this is just the very first step in closed cockpit and indeed closed wheel racing as well. But everyone absolutely set and ready to go. I know there's a few mums and dads out there who right now will have their nerves and their excitement, because from speaking to all the parents of the drivers over the course of the last few race meets, they've all said the same thing to me. First and foremost, they want to see their son and daughter get home absolutely safe at the end of the race and make it to the checker flag. After that, The results, they are secondary. As much as they want to see their son or daughter take victory, indeed anybody wants to, the main theme is they want to see them make it to the finish line, and that's always a big positive. But as they all get themselves ready to go, well, they make the way into the grid, and who is it going to be out of our front row starters? Josh Salvadori or Alternative, will it be Wilf Butler leading out to turn number 1? It's going to be intriguing, ladies and gentlemen, and I suspect we are in for a treat here for the first of their 2 races. Round number 16 championship is only lights out away. And the revs rise, and it's lights out, and away we go then for round number 16, the JSCC for 2025. A lightning start there for Josh Salvadori, and Wilf Butler being made to practically look static. However, going defensive there for a brief moment was Oliver Kerr. He settles it back down immediately now as they roar the way down towards Denton for the first time. But who is now going to think about a move? Because so far, everybody's lying astern. Looks like all of our drivers right now focusing on just getting themselves eyed in. And for many of them, this is their first ever time taking on the Oulton Park circuit in anger. Oh, a big slide there, and I believe that was one of the Powell sisters going very sideways. Was that Lexi there in the 333? We'll have to see, but it did look rather skittish. But meanwhile, look at this already. Butler trying to go for the lead. Salvadori taking his time to get up to speed. Going defensive, there's the Lightning McQueen machine, and Wilf Butler really putting out a message early on in this race, which is, I want that lead. And we can see, look at the defense having to be put up by Salvadori. Butler is absolutely chomping at the bit here, and as they come down the hill, in towards the chicane they come. There's not going to be a move, and well, Salvadori is able to stay safe, but intentions have been made very clear here. And now as they rocket their way into the second half of the lap, where could we go from here? Well, in third place, Oliver Kerr is just watching this right now, and I think if he could have a bucket of popcorn between his legs to watch it, I think he would. But right now he's got to focus on driving himself, because there could be some drama here, and if so, he could be the beneficiary of it all, albeit there's been a lot of respectful racing between all of our entrants over the course of the 2025 season thus far. We expect it to continue, and indeed these drivers right now are racing like true adults out there. They may be youngsters, but they are treated like adults. When I spoke to the clerk of the course for this series, Craig Zdorny, earlier on, he was reiterating me again the pride he has with all the racing out there, and the fact that last time out of Croft there were no judicials between all the drivers. They were absolutely sensible out there, and it led to 3 classic races. But speaking of a classic here, we're building up to one, because lap number 1 is complete, and it's Salvadori who still leads. However, Wilf Butler is right there behind him. 2 tenths is the gap, and then you do have a sizable 8 tenths of a second gap there to Oliver Kerr in third. The leading independent right now just watching in the wings, with then Lewis Austin in fourth ahead of Ollie Smith, then Matthew Swatton, Max Scharfegger, Tom Olgar, and then we've got Leon Holly and Martin Wright completing the top 10. And a big shout out to Martin Wright as well. Many of you may remember his car came to the end of a rather hot end of race number 1. As hold the phone on that one. That's move being made, and I think that's Max Scharfegger gaining the place there. We will come back to see that in a brief moment, as meanwhile your lead battle is too wide here, coming down into the hairpin. It's going to be Salvadori defending again, but Wilf Butler decides he's going to try and cut it back, but to no avail as they head up the hill. And Wilf Butler now starting to really demonstrate he's got a lot of pace, a lot of confidence in that Citroen, but he's got to try and find a way past the resolute defence of Josh Salvadori. And the one thing you can count on with Josh is that he is no easy cookie to crumble, because as they come through, hopping over the apex curb there, cocking the car up onto 3 wheels once, then twice. Well, right now, these Citroens, they can go very quick around these corners. Indeed, you'd be crazy to think that they're roaring the way around here on an average lap speed in somewhere in the region of about 75 miles per hour. Well, what were we all doing when we were 14 through to 17 years old, ladies and gentlemen? I can tell you one thing, I definitely was not contemplating racing a Citroen Saxo around Oulton Park circuit like these guys are, as they use all the width of the circuit there. And Salvadori couldn't use any more width coming into Druids Bend. If he did, he'd be on the grass, and it'd be a rallycross machine as they head down in towards the next corner, coming down into Lodge here. And it's absolutely brilliant between them as they romp their way to the end of another lap. And what we're saying only moments ago about Martin Wright, many of you will remember at the end of race 1 at Croft, his car actually went up in smoke, unfortunately. Driver was all okay, but the car was not. And it's great to see our 2025 scholarship winner back out on circuit and going racing once again. But across the line they come, and as they do, well, some changes afoot. And indeed, that was Leon Holly, not Max Scharfegger out. I do apologise, Leon, making the move on Tom Algar. And Algar right now falling backwards, but he's got Martin Wright for close company. Our top 2 are starting to pull away a little bit here. It looks as though they may be feeling as though this is their race to have. However, you can see, look at Wilf Butler again, so strong off of Cascades corner. Salvadori knows where he needs to position the car, and under braking, no difference between them. Then the battle for third, it's Oliver Kerr who keeps none other than Austin and also Smith at bay for now. Scharfegger goes a little bit deep there, but he does bring the car back together just in time to finish off the corner. But that was definitely a bit of a headstrong start to the hairpin. It's easy to go a little bit too deep there. We've seen it in plenty of our races earlier on today. With this afternoon right now getting off to a cracking start. And, well, Salvador here still holding on, but Wilf Butler is pushing him every step of the way. And intriguingly, what's noticeable there about the way that Wilf Butler is taking that car through the corners, turning in much earlier, and I think trying to protect the left-hand side tyres on his car in order to give him a bit more tyre life later in the race, because the tyres that they run on these single-spec Citroen Saxos, well, they are tyres that can last the distance of the race, as there's contact between the two of them going through Druid's Bend, and as they make the way on through, the door was wide open, and Wilf Butler said, I'm going to take it, and Josh Salvador said, well, I'm not backing out here, and that was literally was ice skates there between the two of them. I'm amazed they kept it going, but well done to them both. There's great respect being shown, and meanwhile Oliver Kerr now watches this and thinks, okay, right, time for me to get a little bit closer here, as he gets very firmly onto the back of Butler's machine, and as they charged away across the line, well, you can see how that lead gap, the top two that gap to third place, suddenly that is completely reversed there, and Oliver Kerr having an absolutely wonderful lap, a personal best lap, and stripping a whole second out of the two leaders as a result of this small altercation. And I think that is more of what's to come here really right now, as we do have a black and white flag for the 110 of Salvador and also the 333 of Lexi Powell for track limits. So for Josh Salvador right now, if he carries on exploiting those track limits, what's going to end up happening is that he's going to end up in a position whereby he'll be given a post-race time penalty, and suddenly where he finishes on the road, it will be the end of the road for him in terms of trying to take that victory, unless he can gap the field by X number of seconds. That X normally being 5 seconds at least, if not 10. Now as they roar the way onwards, over the crest they go, over Hilltop, and you can see Salvador pulls over to one side. Butler meanwhile stays right there with him. Oliver Kerr meanwhile just simply says, okay guys, you keep scrambling all over the road, I'm not going to follow you like this for the simple reason I don't need to at the moment. You two are going to cause each other to come back to me, I'm certain of it. As we do see there, Lewis Austin meanwhile just enjoying a very happy run in fourth place. Max Scharfegger in the 23 finding himself a bit of no man's land at the moment, running in 7th, 2.5 seconds off of Swatton, but conversely 3 seconds ahead of Leon Holly. I wonder if Scharfegger here is perhaps just still trying to find his pace and get himself embedded, because he was really strong at Croft Circuit, it has to be said. Here, however, a very similar circuit in some respects, albeit the elevation changes being the main difference between Croft and Oulton Park. A lot more elevation changes here. One of the most aggressive circuits for elevation change in the United Kingdom, if not the whole continental Europe, is this circuit. And therefore, I wonder whether the elevation change and the fact that a lot of apexes are blind as a result of those elevation changes might just be leading him to being a little bit more hesitant to be as aggressive, because he was very aggressive at Croft and it showed. The pace was absolutely pouring on through. But the aggression right now is flying high there with the screech of the tyres on the top two. Reopens that gap from the second through to third by a second, and down they come then into Cascades again. Now we do see a couple of you there who absolutely love watching the JSCC in the YouTube chats respectively, including back of the Netto 7 saying what happened firstly to Wells and Maserati. They have been in the last couple of meetings. Well, I do believe unfortunately they have left the championship for the remainder of this season to move on to other series, but all's okay with them. And also saying that, oh my word, how do they hold that in reference to Salvador and Butler? Well, absolutely clinical between the two of them. I think in the end Wilf Butler went for it and recognised the fact that okay, it wasn't completely on, and he backed out just as they started to make the contact. I think if he'd gone any deeper than that, I think they both would have been completely sideways through Druids, and we would have had essentially synchronised drifting or synchronised Saxos. Well, that's something I never thought I'd say in my history of commentary, but there we go, from synchronised swimming to synchronised Saxos. But we've still got plenty more time to see what other concoctions they can cook up here at the Cheshire Circuit. But from our top two running away, other things to talk about as well is the battle for fourth, because we do have Austin being chased down by Smith a little bit behind, and Oliver Kerr right now is definitely gapped to the fight for fourth. He's feeling quite confident. We also still have Leon Holly holding off Tom Algar, and a bit further back also Martin Wright's on the back of that, so the battle for eighth will get tasty. You can see it briefly in the rear of the camera shot depending on how well we pan. Well, there's your top two clearing the picture, then third, and then you do have Austin and Smith fourth and fifth here enjoying a great little hustle and tussle The thing is for Smith, however, he's just got to get himself a little bit closer as the leading rookie in the Rookie Championship. It's not easy to do, however, because of how equally balanced these machines are, but the idea being, of course, it all comes down to the driver's skill, as there Austin demonstrates how much skill he has in going completely sideways into the opening corner of Old Hall, and, well, holds it very nicely. And that's what you've got to do. You've got to chuck these cars at the corners. They are very lightweight, and they've got a nice little nippy engine in them, and putting that together, it means that the JSCC machine is one you're going to learn all the traits of driving a front engine front wheel drive car. But as we said earlier, they are quite aggressive on their front tyres. I wouldn't be surprised here with the clockwise nature of the Oulton Park Island circuit if the left-hand side tyres are starting to feel a little bit hot, particularly that front left, which will feel quite punishing, as we do have all of the field making the way on down and around. And we'll further back, this is that fight for 8th place that we've been waiting for to erupt, really, with their Holly holding off Algar, I should say. He hasn't got 2 L's, he's got 1, and I'm sure all the family will be on to me, because he does have the best part of 3 generations of racing in the family, all concurrently at the moment, with his grandfather racing. I'm trying to remember the series he races in. Is it the Track Action Racing Club? It may be, but don't quote me on that. And, well, he's racing at the grandson level there, and there's also racing in between. Indeed, it's a big racing family there in the Algar family, and absolutely wonderful as he runs a little bit wide out of Knickerbrook Corner. Just about keeps it on the road there. He's pushing hard. He wants that place, and he'll be looking to go for one of his best performances of the season in recent race meets. But as we do come back to your top 2, 5 minutes or so left on the clock when you include the final lap they're going to need to deliver, and up the hill they rise. And if you're wondering, for those of you who are wondering whether we're going to have Lewis Standard here today, unfortunately we're not going to be seeing Lewis Standard on the grid for the remainder of the season, and that is because he's decided to leave the championship and move on to other racing series. But still, we wish him all the best as he moves on to other series, and that does happen, to be fair, with regards to our regular cohorts of drivers. They do move on, sometimes at the end of a given year, sometimes they move on mid-season as opportunities arise. And as we said earlier, the JSCC really is the starting point for what is the careers of a lot of these youngsters, and as quickly as they can perform, they can be very quickly snapped up and move into other series there. And this is really their first taste of closed wheel, closed cockpit racing action, with many of them coming from simulator backgrounds, alternatively coming from karting backgrounds there. But coming back to what's on our screen, that's a big slide there for Smith, coming on through the hairpin. He's pushing hard, and, well, if he keeps pushing any harder than that, he will be going sideways through the corner. But he does about to keep it together now as they head on through. But our 2 leaders here, well, it looks as though Wolf Butler's fallen away. Intriguing. We take a look at the sector times from this lap alone, and Josh Salvadori, first sector of 31.266. In the second sector, we're waiting for that to come on through. Wolf Butler was absolutely fine. He matched Salvadori in the first sector. The second sector, my good lord, Josh Salvadori at 40.599 versus a 41.146 there. Salvadori pulling out 6 tenths alone there in a purple middle sector of the lap. Josh Salvadori has found that lap time out there. That's what put him on pole position. And look at the gap. It's growing here already. I think Butler has taken too much out of the car early on by running so close to the back of Salvadori and really trying to hang on to him. Well, it's all worked out the wrong way. We do have, by the way, a time penalty that's been issued to the 333 of Lexi Powell, and that is a track limits. That's a 10-second penalty. Lexi is currently running last of our runners there, so won't lose any places as a result of that, but that's always a shame when that does happen, but always a learning experience as well. And I can tell you one thing, there are a lot of drivers, it doesn't matter at what level or racing series, they do end up picking up time limit penalties for track limits. So Lexi Powell there, no exceptions to the rule, which is those track limits are there for a reason, and if you do get caught out enough times, you do end up being penalised by the stewards. Josh Salvadori does have a black and white flag against him, but so far has been innocent with those track limits for the remainder of the race, and long may that continue, because we wouldn't want to see him relinquished from the lead, literally with only this lap plus 1 more to go. But you can see the difference in lap times there at the bottom of your screen over the last 3 laps, and Salvadori, that previous lap, absolutely flying. But also absolutely flying here is the number 80 of Smith. Ollie Smith still breathing down the neck of Austin. And, well, it's a little bit personal between these two. Not because they don't like each other, but because they are both competing in the Rookie Championship. And right now, Ollie Smith is the man to beat. Lewis Austin, meanwhile, is running all the way down in 4th place in the Rookie Championship. So, therefore, for him, there's going to be a lot of pride online. If he can claim the place of the Rookie Championship leader, he'll be feeling as though things are going upwards from there. But will he be able able to? Well, we'll have to see as our top three abscond into the distance up through Clay Hill and Oliver Kerr right now. I think he's decided, you know what, I can't get any closer at this point, so I might as well just back off and hold on to third, and I can always look at the second race of the day in order to see if I can get an opportunity. Remember, the grids are set for the races based on qualifying times alone. The grid for this race was the fastest lap set by each driver, and the grid for race number 2 later on today will be based on their second fastest qualifying times, and that could lead to a little bit of a shuffling of the grid, because that means in qualifying you've got to be consistently fast. You can't just put in one magical lap and let the rest of the racing do the job. But from the top three running off into distance as they go on to their final lap, well, the battle for fourth right now of Austin, Smith and Swatton. Well, Matthew Swatton has crept up to the back of this battle. He's looking, in fact, as though he's got an opportunity here to take a top 5. I think he's going to need Smith to try and do something versus Austin, however, as otherwise I think the two are just a little bit faster than Swatton, but Swatton has been protecting the car over the last few laps, and it's noticeable here where some of our drivers are really taking it nice and easy. As a bit of drama, ladies and gentlemen. Oh no, well, we said only months ago about Josh Salvadori. We do have a 5-second penalty now lingering over Josh Salvadori's race, and I believe that might be potentially for track limits. We're not 100% sure. It's just come up on our timing screens. You can't see those on camera, but if you're following on TSL timing, you may have seen that as well. Well, if so, that 5-second penalty is applied, that would relegate Josh Salvadori down to a third place finish. So there is some late drama here, just been called out by track limits with a lap to go. But again, we'll talk about the provisional results and then they'll be updated after the race, I'm certain. But Salvadori right now, he can't be thinking about that if he's aware of it at all. His head's got to be down and down on one thing, which is just getting to that checkered flag by the best possible margin he can to make sure any penalties of that, they do the least amount of damage. And as a driver, you've got to think what you can do on the road, because once you've got a penalty, if he's got one, that's it. There's no going back there. You can appeal it afterwards, but that's a whole separate process. But that process doesn't apply here to what happens on the asphalt as he roars his way under the Warwick Bridge, and will right now keep in a comfortable gap of about 1.3 seconds to Wilf Butler. But he's had to work very hard for this, Josh Salvadori. So as he comes on through the final corner, well, it is going to be a victory on the road for Salvadori. We'll see what happens with the penalties afterwards. But as he makes his way to the timeline, Josh Salvadori will take the on-road victory there for round number 16, but immediately demoted behind Wilf Butler and Oliver Kerr, so he'll take third after the time penalties added, and then it will be Wilf Butler who's promoted to victory ahead of Independence winner Oliver Kerr. We'll have Leon Austin take on home at fourth place. A brilliant drive there from Lewis Austin ahead of Smith, and that will be Austin taking that fourth ahead of Ollie Smith, with then Matthew Swatton taking sixth place, and then Max Scharfegger in seventh. Leon Holly holds off Tom Algar to finish in eighth place, and then it will be Martin Wright who completes your top 10, and then we will in due course have both Sherry Ann Powell and then Lexi Powell finish their races in 11th and 12th respectively. What a round of racing for the JSCC, and the story of that one really had to be Josh Salvadori on the road pushing it to the limit to keep ahead of Wilf Butler, but in the end, due to pushing it a bit too far at certain points on the circuit, Wilf Butler being able to pick up the victory provisionally, it would seem, based on track limit penalties. As there's Lexi Powell coming to the finish line, but credit where it's due, because our top three were sensational, and well, they carry on from where they left off at Croft, i.e. Butler, Salvadori and Kerr in dominating the podium places, whereas meanwhile it was an absolutely brilliant job there for none other than Lewis Austin taking fourth place, and with it rookie victory there. But here are your provisional results then, ladies and gentlemen. As we can see, with post-race time penalties applied for track limits, Wilf Butler promoted to victory there ahead of Oliver Kerr by 2.5 seconds, and Josh Salvadori, he may have won on the road, but he's been demoted back to third. But still, I think they'll all be happy to be on the podium again, and what a battle between the three of them. Lewis Austin, one of his finest performances of the season. In fact, as I double check all of my notes here, this will be only his second top 5 of the season for Lewis Austin. Well done to him. That was a very well-driven drive. Ollie Smith, 5th there, didn't quite have enough to beat Austin, but stayed close. And then Matthew Swatton in 6th place. Got onto the back of that top 5 battle right at the end, but didn't have enough. Max Scharfegger was 7th ahead of Leon Holly. And then Tom Algar and Martin Wright completed your top 10, with Sherry Ann Powell in 11th and Lexi Powell wrapping up the finishing order in 12th. Fastest lap of the race as well went to Wilf Butler there on lap number 4, a 46.98. Well, he did manage to find that lap time, and well, it was back and forth between himself and Salvadori all the way over the race distance, but in the end, Wilf Butler adding another victory to his tally. That now makes it 6 wins. He is the most decorated winner of the season so far, versus conversely the 3 apiece of Josh Salvadori and Oliver Kerr, but right now he is running away with things is Wilf Butler. Well, the circuit falls silent for a brief moment. The roar of the little Citroen Saxo VTI machines suddenly downs, and as it does, we've still got plenty more racing to come because they'll have another race coming up later today for race number 11. But as we get ready for our next race, ladies and gentlemen, let's cut to Jack Oliphant as he's down in Parc Ferme to interview our top 3 finishers of round 16 of the JSCC for 2025.
Well, the Junior Saloon Car Championship really hotted up there, didn't it, at Oulton Park? It's very nice to see. I mean, only 12 cars, which is a bit of a shame. But it didn't mean the racing was diminished, luckily. So we've got a few drivers that we want to have a chat to. First place, not necessarily... well, where is he, actually? First place. That's a good point. I had him in my sight, and now he's just disappeared. Where is Wilf Butler gone? Wilf, there you are. He managed to sneak around the back of me. He's still got his helmet on. He was that keen to go over and chat to his friends and family. Do you want me to let you take your helmet off? That might be really useful, mightn't it? Go on, you can go and get your helmet while we do see some impressive hand-eye coordination from some water bottle throwing over there. So Josh Salvador, there's a bit of a shame for him because of course he drove so well with that 5-second penalty, jumped him down to 3rd place. But Wilf Butler, 1st place. I mean, that's pretty good, isn't it, for you in terms of your championship points? You can't ask for better.
Yeah, it's a good result, especially where we started on a grid, managed to convert it to a win. Josh drove really well. It's just unfortunate, really, with the penalty, but yeah, it's a good race.
You enjoy Oulton Park then, because Paul mentioned that a lot of drivers in this championship may well be experiencing this track for the first time. It's not your first time here at Oulton Park, I don't believe. So how is it like coming back here? Is it a track that you enjoy, or is it a track that you dread? Because it can go one or two ways at this mini Nürburgring.
Yeah, I think it's probably one of my favourites, this or Cadwell. I really like them when they're technical, so yeah, it's a really good circuit to learn and just hack around and have fun.
Yeah, it's very tight circuits that you enjoy there. Right, I'll let you enjoy the moment because, of course, he has had a big moment. Now, I want to find Oliver Kerr because Josh Salvador, I'm giving him a couple of minutes to maybe just have a little bit. In fact, there's Oliver Kerr, just literally where I came from. I'm giving Josh Salvador a bit of an opportunity to maybe compose himself because he may well be a bit annoyed. Oliver, a strong 2nd place finish there in the end after Josh's 5-second penalty means that you've been promoted up to 2nd. That must be pretty good then.
Yeah, obviously it's really good for the championship, just consistently putting in these points. Just didn't have enough in that race to kind of keep with them, but yeah, points nonetheless.
Oulton Park is a very difficult circuit to push, isn't it? If you don't quite have the time, if you overdriving is very easy around this circuit because you can so easily do track limits or cook the tyres, can't you? What were the challenges that you found in that race?
I think definitely kind of the tyres going off towards the end and understeering near to the track limit sensor. But other than that, I quite like this track, but I still need to work on probably my driving more than the car.
Well, your driving, I think, is pretty top dollar, considering this is a very strong grid. You're trying to mix it with some extremely talented drivers. You're a talented driver yourself. What's the extra little bit that you think you need to find? Or is that a case of maybe getting a driver coach in to help you find that? Or what's the next stage for you in the back end of the season?
I'm not 100% sure. Obviously, I'm going to have to go back and look at the data and see how we can improve. But yeah, just looking at data. Yeah,
well, fantastic. I'll let you go back and I'll let you cool off. Oliver Kerr. Right, one last interview I want to do because we need to get his reaction. Now, I've given him an opportunity. Josh Salvador, he's still got his helmet on. I think that's Josh anyway. I don't want to interrupt him too much, so I'm just going to very quickly, I know this might be a bit annoying for you viewers at home, but I'm going to give him a quick question to see if he wants to have a chat to us. I'm hoping he does because it's still a podium position. Josh, do you want an opportunity to pick your bottle up? And do you want an opportunity to take your helmet off, or do you want to do this interview with your helmet on? Okay, right, good. Obviously, a 5-second penalty is a bit of a kick in the teeth, isn't it? But an amazing race from you. And I mean, you were sideways going through Druids. How on earth did you keep that car on the road at that point?
Yeah, I didn't really expect it, but you know, contact happens sometimes, and yeah, just tried to keep my foot in and power out of it.
Yeah, I love it. And I'm enjoying the fit right now with the helmet as well. I'm going to let you go and try and compress because we have got some Scottish Mini Cooper Challenge cars out.